Okay, let's get into the challenge. So here was the challenge from last week. The challenge was to create and share your own handwritten font and/or create a hand-lettered version of a favorite quote or phrase. And I will share your submissions right now. So thanks for everyone. Got quite a few people participating, which was really fun to see. And the easiest way, as I mentioned, to participate in these weekly challenges is simply by posting your submissions in the forum for that particular module. And then I just realized, I think what we'll do, like right now, the challenges are related to the module, the topic of the module that just came out. But even since we're going to keep these webinars and these challenges going even after all the modules are up. So at that point, what I might do is I'll create a challenge-specific forum so that you just have a challenge forum to submit whatever new and hopefully fun and interesting challenges we come up with after all the modules are up. All right, so let's take a look at some of the ones that you guys submitted. Fabian submitted a couple of these cool title fonts. I like the kind of classic look of this font on the left here and a little bit more of a stencil style font on the right. Cool options, and you can see how this type of font would stand out as a title within some sketch notes where the rest of your text probably wouldn't want to spend this much time on it. So it's a cool way to make certain text stand out. Here's one from Francois, if I'm saying your name correctly. I hope I am. These are cool. So for a lot of these, I think I'll read. It's fun to read these out, so I'll just go ahead and do that. Seeing the world as it isn't. Our world experience is an alternate reality. We've got the false impression we see everything in detail. Test your knowledge in order to avoid focus blindness. It looks like that was from a TEDx talk given by Daniel Simmons. And what I wanted to point out with this one is just how even something as simple as boxing your quote and then adding a little bit of a drop shadow to it really does make each of those individual pieces stand out, kind of pop off the page. So that's a cool little technique you can use to make a certain chunk of text stand out. And it's kind of cool here. Notice that also to kind of evenly fill each of those boxes, emphasizing the last word or couple words of the phrase here is a good way to fill the space you have for yourself. Very cool, Francois. Marianne, who is a librarian. We have at least a couple librarians here. I think Marianne and Joy, if I'm getting that right. In the non-stop tsunami of global information, librarians provide us with floaties and teach us to swim. A quote from Linton Weeks. Very cool and awesome illustration along with the quote here. I like it. Also from Marianne, who I hope you're okay with me sharing this. Marianne, you just sent me an email. And let me see if Marianne's here. So this is an activity from the Verbal to Visual Notebook where I encourage you to, while you're out and about, look for interesting store signs and sketch out the ones you like, paying particular attention to the typography used. So this is a way to find some interesting fonts and look at how they're used on signs and maybe incorporate some of those into your work. These are from Portland. These are Marianne's favorite restaurants in Portland, which makes me feel somewhat homesick for Portland. I'm living down in Eugene right now, which is a couple hours south of Portland, but Portland is probably my favorite city, and I've been to two of these three restaurants. I actually lived about 3 blocks away from Cup and Saucer Cafe on Hawthorne in Southeast Portland, and that right there is one of my favorite breakfast brunch spots in Portland. Tin Shed is great as well. Never been to the Farm Cafe, but I'm going to make a point to get there next time I make it up to Portland. So that's cool. Try, if you haven't done this one, try. This works well in urban areas, of course. Roam around the city and just look for cool, interesting signs and sketch out some of the ones that you like. Here is a quote, really cool hand letter illustration from Joy. The love of learning, the sequestered nooks, and all the sweet serenity of books. Quote from a poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And this, the way that Joy incorporated that quote into this image of a book. This is probably my favorite way to really emphasize a quote or a particular idea, is just finding like one single image or one object that you can draw and then finding a way to embed the words within that object. So this example from Joy here is a really cool demonstration of that particular technique. Next, we've got one from Melaine here, another submission from one of the activities within the Verbal to Visual Notebook, where I suggest you start gathering quotes that you like, and then each time you come across a new one that you'd like to remember, write it out and try using a different font for each. And so here, let's check out what Melaine did here. Every child is an artist, from Pablo Picasso. I like it. Here's one that just uses some cool, more cursive text, along with a box and drop shadow. Creativity is allowing yourself to make mistakes. Art is knowing which ones to keep. I like that as well. Then embedded within a light bulb. To draw is to make an idea precise. This actually is a really cool idea in and of itself, and one that I think demonstrates part of the power of visual note-taking, that when you're forced to actually draw a picture of something, as opposed to just writing that thing in words, words can be abstract, and I think people interpret words in different ways. So I think one of the powers of behind actually drawing out a particular idea is that it does add a level of concreteness to that idea. It makes you think about the actual situation going on, and you can picture it a lot better, which is something that I'll be bringing up within the imagery module, kind of how you can play along this spectrum of even how abstract your visuals are to how realistic your visuals are, and as you move toward the realistic end of that spectrum, you're making ideas more and more precise. So, and again, you can kind of choose how precise you want to be with the idea that you're expressing, compared to how, if you want to leave some room for interpretation, is an option as well if you move away from that realistic detail. That's good. That looks like you guys can see me a little better now. A few more here. I like these. Okay. Life is your canvas. Love it. Vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. Very good. And simply be different. Right on. Good use of color there for that one. Cool. Let's keep going here. Here are some handwritten fonts from Turnavis. So we've got some cool title font here. I really like the use of double lines here, kind of similar to, somewhat similar to what Fabian was doing here as well. I don't know, I just like that style. And then some more kind of maybe your standard core fonts, what I call those, and then some bubble letters. I like it. Cool demonstration of different styles of fonts here. And to see a quote. All I knew was I needed to escape, leave this world, for a while at least. I looked at the two doors. I chose the book, not the bottle. Right on. I like that a lot. Cool symmetry here too. Notice like the door handle on the left on this one, on the right on this one, and the words in the middle. As you've noticed, one of my style preferences is having things centered and symmetric. Which obviously that's kind of like a personal thing. That's not something that you would necessarily have to do, but I kind of see that in this sketch as well.